That's right. All comics, zero drama. I'm John.
And comics, only comics.
Yes. What's up, Richard? Even though you're wearing an AD&D shirt.
I'm sorry. I'm an uber geek. Of course, I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Of course you do. Still?
I haven't played for a long time.
Hey, well, I tell you what, you end up married to Sofia Vergara. I mean, come on, it can't be that bad. Well, they got divorced though, didn't they?
Yeah, but you know, my man crush Matt Mercer from he did the voices for a number of video games. He also has a YouTube channel that is nothing. He's a dungeon master, and a whole bunch of voice actors are the people playing. He's a voice actor as well, and it is amazing. It's called I forget what it's called now. Remember what it's called.
Way to plug it.
Anyway, if you look for Dungeons and Dragons, you'll on YouTube, you will not miss it.
I don't know. I don't think anyone can beat my man crush, Joe Manganiello, or however you say his last name. Hey, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, and give us a like, hit subscribe, leave us a review, all those fun things. As you guys know, we are back in a normal New York groove, even though I'm in California, Richard's in Ohio. Underrated books of the week. We've got viewer mail and our hot book of the week. Richard, what is it?
The hot book this week is Captain America 110, first appearance of Ricky Jones as Bucky.
I like you call him Ricky.
First, this is a gorgeous Steranko cover. When I think of Jim Steranko covers, this is the one I think of. It's also the first appearance of Madam Hydra.
It is really about that classic Steranko cover, and we've talked about it before. Don't get me wrong, everybody. Don't come at me. I love the cover too. As a Captain America fan, my number one hero, I realize the significance of this cover. However, as an adult, I look at this cover now, and this is a repeat. This is not a rerun, but you have to look at the Hulk's right arm, his right. The way it's drawn, he kind of cheated. I know it's supposed to be foreshortening rather, but it's literally, if it was real life, he'd be coming out of the top of his chest. The way it's drawn there. And is Rick Jones like a pygmy, or is the Hulk 40 feet tall?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, the whole perspective is off. But it's comic books.
It's graphic design. It's Serge Steranko. Cap's got a little scoliosis happening. Hey, the most recent high grade sale was for a 9.6 back in April for $1,140. This is the hot book of the week because a lot of copies were trading hands this week. Not sure why. I don't think there was any kind of Madam Hydra announcement. Madam Hydra went on to be the Viper, classic Cap villain.
Now, would you buy this for $1,140?
No, I would not. I'm not saying that because it's not worth it. I don't need a 9.6 in my life. I'm happy with my raw 9.2-ish copy. I don't need a slab in these horrible days. Richard.
Yeah.
CGC forums. I'll link to it in the description. Did you guys see the Batman 10 that was graded by CGC?
No.
As a qualified, is qualified the green label? Am I saying that right?
Qualified.
Yeah. Qualified 1.8.
Great.
Right. It's got like a replaced bottom staple. However, they failed to note the incredibly incorrect back cover that was added. That is not even from the same year, title, anything.
Wow.
You guys, look at this thing. Look at this back cover. I wish I set a picture for you, Rich, before in the notes. It is literally not the cover to Batman number 10, not even notated by CGC's grading. My books are staying right here for the foreseeable future.
For that, where you got a Mary cover like that, is that a purple, or
that's a slam purple. There's no debate.
Yeah, that's just
no debate. Go check out the post in the CGC forums. Have a good laugh. Pause. Come back here as we switch to show and tell fingers. I'm going to start. All of my stuff is stuff. I'm a week late because I, recombobulating from the time change and work and everything. These are all books I was either given or bought at Northeast Ohio Comic-Con 2 weeks ago, right? Is that 2 weeks at this point?
Yep.
First is from our good friend DD Comics fan Forrest, who was at our booth as well. If you guys got to meet him, it is Amazing Man Special number 1, number 2, and number 3. After the title was canceled, it was like nominated for awards, and it, you know, posthumously, I think, won an Eisner, or at least was nominated for an Eisner. So they were like, okay, there's some life in this property. So they started doing these specials, and it was about one every 6 months. First one was in 88. There was another in 89 and another in early 90. But I'm holding number 3 up specifically because look at the credits here, who's featured. There is an entire story in here inked by Todd McFarlane.
Oh, wow.
1990 Todd McFarlane. The height of his pre-Spawn glory on Amazing Spider-Man. So lots of support for Amazing Man from the comics community. You know, Steven DeStefano, great cartoonist. People loved working over his pencils because, I mean, look at the expressiveness and simplicity. So I was really happy and pleased to see a little Todd McFarlane.
Hey, can you hold it up again real quick?
Sure.
Look up above the corner box.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that DC, that classic DC logo. Did you see DC is going back to that logo?
They sure are. Yeah, designed by Milt Glasser in the 70s under Jeanette Kahn. What do you think?
I think they should never have gone away from it, personally. I have no idea why they decided to go with that other logo. That logo, that round logo with a DC at an angle, is the DC logo for me.
They have tried the New 52 era DC logo with the star coming around. It wasn't too bad. The one where it was like a peel up was horrible. What are we paying people for? It was that. What's your first show and tell?
My first show and tell is it's Mexican comics. Actually, it's almost the theme, almost a Mexican theme. This is Spider-Gwen number 1. This is, you can see down there by the price box, it says Marvel Mexico.
Sure
so
does.
This is the Mexican variant of the book. This book, this is Spider-Gwen number 1. I was looking at pricing on eBay for this thing. A 9.6 is $300. A raw was almost $400 for this book, which is why I have the Mexican variant, because I believe I paid $20 for this. It's in great shape, and it has that same exact cover. I am usually not a fan of these homage covers. This is, of course, an homage to ASM 1 from Todd McFarlane, but this one works for some reason. I like this one, and it's probably one of the few that I have. But yeah, this is kind of a cheat code when you want some of the rare covers like this one, or Legion of Superheroes number 23, the Adam Hughes beautiful cover of Supergirl. There is a Mexican variant that has that cover as well, and so it's a good way of getting these covers on the cheap.
You can always go down to the La Mole Con in Mexico City. It happens in March and in October. I was telling Richard, it's super safe. Mexico City is kind of amazing. There's no problem there. The food, Richard. Oh my God, it's so good. And it's cheap. It's cheap. It's not all Todd all the time on show and tell. I'm willing to throw in a little Neil Adams in here with Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 92. This was a gift from our friend Kevin, aka K-Mort. He saw this and thought, well, this is a John book if I've ever seen one. Lois is a centaur. I don't know if I'm disturbed or turned on.
I prefer not to know, John.
Yeah, a little from column A, a little from column B. Holy moly, great Krypton, rather. Also, not for nothing, it's in one of those Comic Clear backing boards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Kevin. That's kind of cool.
Kevin's awesome.
But great Neil Adams cover. Before Neil, Like you telling him, all right, draw a cover where Lois is half horse and Superman's looking at her like, what the hell? Okay, when do you need it, Mort? All right, what is your next show and tell?
Next one is a book we were talking. I just showed a next Mexican comic. Here's another one. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 300.
It is all Todd all the time.
Yeah, it looks like it is. This is a gorgeous foil cover. I mean, this is amazing. If you look at it, it's incredibly shiny, really, really sharp book. This is a slam dunk 9.8. All I need to do is send it in. But yeah, just it's gorgeous. And again, another shortcut to getting a high grade ASM 300. I think it looks better than the original ASC 300 because of that foil.
Careful with the back cover. It's all black. Thumbnails love sticking to that glossy black back cover. That originally came in a Venom themed 3-pack of foil covers that also included Lethal Protector number 1. And I believe there's another Venom. Maybe it was ASM 314. There are 3 of them that come in there, and that's the ASM 300. I had a stack of those when I went down to Mexico City, like during the pandemic. I went to a bookstore and they had a stack of them, and I bought a whole slew of them. Some dude came up to the booth. I never seen him before. I had no idea who he was, and he just shoves this in my face. It's queen size Millie the Model. Richard gave me.
I'm surprised you didn't have that.
No, I don't have a good copy of it. This was from Richard, by the way. I'm kidding about not knowing who it was. I've always seen it. This came out in 75 when Millie had been canceled for a couple of years at this point. So I don't know if they were just trying, a one-shot to fill up the racks, or they were competing with Atlas Comics' Vicky, and trying to move that aside. I have a real problem with this cover, Richard, and that is the corner symbol, which is supposed to be Millie. They colored her hair wrong. She's got red hair, so that makes her Chili. Her rival, Chili. That's Millie, people. That's Chili. Millie, Chili. Title, Millie the Model.
Marvel.
What's that?
You're right into Marvel and complain.
Dear editor, I want a no prize for discovering.
Oh, man. I think anybody there even remembers what a no prize is.
I should. That'd be amazing. You have no prize these days. All right. What else do you have?
Here's a non-Ted book, or non-Todd book. This is Punisher number 3 from the limited series. I love the limited series. If you haven't had an opportunity to read it, it's 4-issue limited series. Number 1, 5 issues. I'm sorry.
It's supposed to be 4, and then all of a sudden, whoops.
Yeah. Number 1 is a little expensive, but the rest of them are pretty reasonable. It introduces you to the Punisher as a character, and his first appearance was in ASM.
129?
129, right? 129. But this is his first solo title, and it's a good one. You get to see the ruthlessness of the Punisher, and develops the character. And he's got that original skull emblem, not the half-baked one they replaced it with in the last Punisher show.
Before everybody comes at Richard, I am going to remind him that Marvel Super Action number 1, featuring the Punisher, is the first solo Punisher title.
Is it? Okay. Thank you very much.
The magazine, though, so it's the first comic book solo title. So Richard is technically correct on some level.
Some level. This is from my original collection. I've had this book for however many years it's been since this came out. I remember reading this on the newsstand, and it was good back then, and I think it's still good now.
I believe Marvel put out a poster of that cover as well back in the day, and it was very, very cool. Yeah, Philip, that's show and tell for you. Hey, if you want to support the show, it's real easy. You could become a member right here on YouTube for the cost of $2.99 a month, less than a copy of a comic book these days. Holy moly.
Half the cost.
I know. You get exclusive live member-only streams like we're going to have on Thursday, extra show and tell episodes like we're going to have on Wednesday, shout-outs right here. See them scroll by. Hi, everybody. And
Hello.
Richard and I get more equipment like gimbals and microphones and things like that to improve the show. Another benefit for being a member is you get to participate in ways that non-members don't. For example, I asked everyone to send me their horrible spine roll comics so I can make a spine roll correction and repair video. Guess what? I actually did it this week. Amazing. So members will see that spine roll repair video first this week before we roll it out to everyone else, and just supporting the show. So we really appreciate everybody. We appreciate, even if you're not a member, because you send us your questions and your comments in a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
Mm-hmm. My first piece of viewer mail comes to us from Skylac. Hello, Bronze and Modern Gods. I recently picked up this copy of Batman 205 that has about a 2.5-inch piece of tape on the front. Having heard John mention tape removal a couple of times on the show, I figured I'd email you and ask for some advice. First, John, what is your method of choice for removing tape from a book? I've watched a few videos of different methods, and I'm interested in how you go about doing it. Second, I've attached a couple of photos of the book. The tape looks like it's holding down a thin tape pull, doesn't go all the way through the cover. I don't think it's still attached at all. If that was in one of your collections, would you recommend removing the tape? I can't decide if I'd rather have a white scar on the front of the book or leave the old yellowing tape in place. I'm not looking to get it graded. It's just for my personal collection and potential resale way down the line. Thanks for always making great shows. I look forward to them every week. Thank you, Skylac. Your personal collection? I don't know. Do you want to get rid of the tape? I guess I would practice on something first. I'd find a dollar book with some tape on it before I did it on something I would potentially resell. Having said all that, do you have a tack iron? Tack iron is the way to go. You heat it up. You put the tack iron on the tape. You have a little flat plastic tape scraper that you can buy off of Amazon. You slowly work that tape off. If it's not moving, put the tack iron back on there. Don't try to force it. And then a Q-tip with a tiny little bit of undo on it, squeezed out so it's barely damp, and just remove any extra adhesive. Richard, what you're giving a look like?
Yeah, every time I've removed a piece of tape from a cover, whether it's successfully, as John mentioned, using undo and a lot of time and patience, there's always an outline of the tape on the cover. It's going to be there because what's underneath the tape is not exposed to the environment of the rest of the cover.
Yep.
So even if it comes off perfectly, you're going to have a tape-sized discoloration on your cover. Can you live with that? Me personally, tape's part of the patina, by drink, of of the comic. It's part of the fabric of that comic. It was a common practice in the past, and I would just celebrate it, and I would leave it there. Some kid 30 years ago thought it was important enough to put a piece of tape to protect that book.
I haven't tried it yet, but I have had success. I take that back. I've removed some of that tape staining remaining with blue LED. But it's a lot of work, and that Batman issue is not a key or anything. I wouldn't spend the time on it.
Just enjoy it as it is.
Yeah. What's your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece of viewer mail is from Dan Berger. We met Dan at the Neo Comic Con this year, and we appreciate him stopping by. And he says, "Hey dudes, it was great meeting you, and you are too kind with the comments. Not that I mind," because we mentioned him in the last show. And he says, as Sean pointed out, we had a commenter named Sean who very carefully pointed out to me that I had an error in my presentation of the book that our friend here, Dan, gave us. There was a misprint of TMNT number 4, second print, has the cover art from the Tales of the TMNT number 1, volume 1. Both of the books were at the printer at the same time, and chaos ensued, leading to the error version where the printer used the wrong cover for TMNT number 4. It supposedly got recalled, and most of the copies were said to have been destroyed, but we have some of them laying around Mirage that I grabbed after the studio closed up shop. Wow, that would be amazing to be in the Mirage Studios, not celebrating they went out of business, but that you had access to pick up what was there.
Grabbing office supplies after you
Love you guys and look forward to the show every episode. My wife, Jessica. Hi, Jessica. Got a big kick out of the shout out, as did I. So thank you for that. Made Wednesday or Monday night. Now I've got to dig through the archives to find that Mr. Fantasy interview.
It's good.
Yeah, thanks again, Dan, for the comic. I appreciate the backstory. At the time, I wasn't aware of it. Between you and Sean, I'm caught up to date, so appreciate it, and I will be adding it to a permanent part of my collection.
Fantastic. My next piece of viewer mail is from George Henry. I'm sure I'm in the minority here, but big Conan fan. In particular, Savage Sword 81 to 84. I don't think you're in the minority here, actually, George. You're right at home. I love Buscema. I know Buscema didn't enjoy superhero work and preferred Conan and Westerns, but why do I feel like his Conan the Barbarian stuff from 1979 forward is boring and uninspired? Don't get me wrong, it's great art from a master craftsman, but it's boring. It looks like it was so easy for him, he just banged it out to get it over with. As a kid, I preferred Savage Sword and King Conan as well. I did pick up Conan when Gil Kane jumped on for a few issues in 82. Buscema's Avengers run at the same time was incredible and still holds up. Love the show, guys. It's super chill and relaxing. Both of you are true fans with great taste, and the affection and chemistry you both have with each other makes me look forward to every episode. Aw, George Henry.
Thank you.
We'll forgive you for having two first names. All right. Why do you think Buscema from 79 forward on Conan was boring? Well, George, because it was. It was medium shot after medium shot of static action, air quotes. He was over it. He was cashing a paycheck. I mean, let's be honest. John Buscema on a bad day is still miles above many artists on their best day. But, you know, he just got complacent. I agree with you. I'm not a fan. I stopped buying Conan. And then when, just like you, Gil Kane came back on, I was like, whoa, wait, it's a Gil Kane cover in the 80s? What's happening? I thought he was over at DC now. So I did come back, and then he was gone again. And then we went back to more Buscema. Buscema and Chan on Conan over and over and over. It just got to be predictable. So, George, I feel you.
Yeah, I was a Savage Sword guy myself. 81 to 84 is, I remember those days. Did read Conan. I did read King Conan. So, George, we have a lot in common when it comes to our Conan habits.
George, is interesting. Buscema did that King Cole miniseries, or that ongoing that was quarterly in the 80s, and it was much more inspired. I just think he got bored. He and Roy Thomas were just on it forever. You just need to shake things up. You don't want to mess with success. I guess it was selling well, but if I was editor, I'd been like, all right, let's jazz this up a bit. All right, what's next?
My next piece is from our friend David, still only 35 cents on YouTube. Hi, T. Great to have the show back to a semi-normal schedule. Crossing fingers. On the Heritage Auctions booth, I included it in my STCC show floor highlights video. If you haven't watched David's channel, please do. Still only 35 cents. Great channel. As well in glorious 4K too. I buy Overstreet semi-regularly, and similar to John, love the articles. Most importantly, it provides useful context for values for tax purposes for that point in time. That is a great use. Great use for the Overstreet.
Only worth $20 according to Overstreet. I don't know what you're talking about, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it's a certified source. I mean, it's an expert source, so it is definitely something you could cite when it comes to value. So that is a very, very good use of the Overstreet Guide. Thank you.
Is this podcast admissible in court? My final piece of viewer mail for today comes from Adam Hofbauer. I was 13 years old when Michael Turner was doing Fathom. Perfect. And right in the headlights of the hype train, which included heavy promotion by our old pal Wizard Magazine. Even with my nostalgia for Turner in place, I think what hurts him is the overprinting of the issues. Even the convention exclusives are all over eBay. And that he's too much cheese and not enough cake. Ooh, Adam, good one. Unlike Dave Stevens, Bruce Timm, or even Michael Lisner, I don't think you could show a Michael Turner cover to a non-fan and get any kind of appreciation. For my money, the only place to go into his books is if they are signed, given the sad nature of his early passing. Great points all, Adam.
Excellent.
Thanks for writing in.
Yes, and thank you for making us feel old.
Of course. What's your final piece of viewer mail?
My last piece is from John Kasdorf on YouTube. Richard, to your comment at 1551, is talking about our last show about Secret Wars being the first time he had that kind of gathering of superheroes.
Yeah.
Check out Contest of Champions, which predated Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars by about a year. I always forget Contest of Champions because I didn't read Contest of Champions when it came out. The first one that I read was Marvel Superheroes. But thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. John, you got something to say?
Yeah, fun fact about Contest of Champions. I remember it being the first Marvel miniseries, and it was everyone. You had everyone gathered for the Contest of Champions. It was originally done to be a Marvel Treasury edition called The Marvel Superheroes Go to the Winter Olympics.
Wow.
And it was supposed to come out for the 1980 Olympics. Guess what happened in 1980? We boycotted the Olympic Games. So they repurposed it for Contest of Champions a couple of years later with some redrawing and things like that. So
that's good to know. That's pretty cool.
Fun facts. All right. Boy, 82, 2 years off from 84, 40 years ago. For the old fart rule. Hey. Hey, I'm glad I'm ignoring my notes because my notes say 25-year rule. Actually, old fart rule this week. Mr. X #1 from Vortex Comics. Richard, remember this?
I remember it. I did not read it.
First issue of the critically acclaimed 80s indie series from Vortex Comics, famously or infamously known as one of the few non-Love and Rockets projects from Gilbert and Jaime Hernandez. Now, I say infamously because this was a big deal back then because they drew 4 issues and then they very publicly quit because they weren't getting paid. We don't work for free, people. Art is commerce. It's been decades since I read Mr. X. I remember reading it at the time, and I remember it being graphically appealing. The posters were cool. The covers were cool. The art was cool, but it was friggin' incomprehensible. I didn't know what was going on. It was this bald detective guy living in a future city that takes a drug that keeps him up all the time. And what? I just remember I remember not understanding it.
Now, did Gilbert write it? Because it sounds like something
Gilbert wrote it. Gilbert also helped draw it. Mario helped write it. I think Jaime was just an art robot at that time for this. I have to wonder if I reread it now, if I would catch more of the nuance. Kind of doubt it. Not a lot of sales data on this, but I was surprised to find a high-grade copy of this sold on eBay in June for $50. What?
Wow.
So just a cute curio, a little footnote in the Hernandez Brothers career, since we were on a Hernandez Brothers high after meeting Jaime at Comic-Con. All right, moving on to our underrated books of the week. Richard, you want people to spend a lot of money this week after, last week, Showcase 22. Just, a few $1,000s, everybody. It's not going to break the bank. Go ahead and buy that first Green Lantern. It's underrated.
Your kids don't need to go to college.
This week, Richard's picking a friggin' omnibus. Go on.
All right. For those who don't know, here's an omnibus. Now, I showed this book here previously. This is an omnibus. An omnibus is a collection of comics under a single topic. Now, this happens to be the Spider-Gwen comics in order. So if you want to read the arc for Spider-Girl, you buy the omnibus. It is a big honking book.
Have you tried reading an omnibus?
I have tried. It is difficult because of the bulk trying to read this thing. But like I said, it's in order. If you start from the beginning and go to the end, you will read the story in order. So this kind of omnibus is good for that. I don't have to try to remember that, this issue came before that issue. Now, the omnibus that I'm talking about, though, is a little bit different. This is Marvel Omnibus. This is for August 1961. It's published back in February of this year. It is a collection of all the comics that Marvel printed in August of 1961, which I think is a cool concept. There's a whole series of these omnibus. There's actually another one. If you're looking for AF-15, for example, June 1962, that's out there as an omnibus. It has AF-15 and Fantastic Four #5, first appearance of Dr. Doom. But this book has in it, it's got Journey into Mystery number 73 through 74, Kathy 13, Life with Millie 13, Patsy Walker, kind of John books. You got Strange Tales, House of Suspense, Tales of Suspense, Tales of Astonish, variety of different books. You got from a variety of different types of books. So if you want to see what was on the newsstand in 1961, this month of August, here's 2024, but we go back to 1961. This omnibus has a copy of every book that was on the newsstand that month. Pretty cool in my opinion. And it's, this is 1961. Then this includes Fantastic Four #1, which to me is the renaissance of the superhero genre after the Golden Age, the first appearance of the first family in Fantastic Four. You get to see that story in the context of the time, because all the other stories around it, you get to see how unique Fantastic Four #1 is in comic genre, and how it really just set the bar for every other superhero comic after it. So it's a good book. You can buy this omnibus on eBay right now for $50. So it's not overly expensive. The newer omnibuses,
Omniboo.
The newer ones you could buy, they're Marvel's putting them out. They go for around $110. This monstrous thing here was, I think I paid $120 for it. But they're, like I said, they're good ways of collecting a specific type of comic. In this case, everything that was released in that month. I recommend you check it out.
Very cool. By the way, some of those titles have never been reprinted before, like the Gunsmoke Western or Linda Carter's Student Nurse. My underrated book of this week is Fantastic Four #176. Beneath this amazing cover by Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott lies a fun story where the Impossible Man decides he wants a comic book based on him too. So he invades the offices of Marvel Comics and demands they do one. Wackiness ensues. It's by Roy Thomas and George Perez. It features appearances by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, along with most of the people that were working for Marvel at the time being caricatured. It's obviously a very idealized version of Marvel Comics. For example, Jack Kirby was living on the West Coast, although in the comic, Roy makes some reference like, "Oh, Jack, you just got in from the coast." I remember having this issue as a kid and loving it. I read it over and over again because it was like, oh, it'd be so cool to work there and look at how much fun they have during the day. There was a very similar issue of Nova around the same time. I think it was Nova issue 5, where Nova goes to Marvel Comics and wants a comic book based on him, and they basically laugh him out of the building. High-grade copies of this are on eBay for around $15 to $30, but there are plenty of cheaper, lower-grade copies out there if you want to read it. It's not a hot book. It's not a movie spec. It is underrated because I never hear people talk about this issue, and it's really just a classic, fun read.
Oh, Impossible Man's a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah, and look at that Kirby cover. Come on.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't do anything like assistant editor months like they used to, where they take their comics a little less seriously for one issue out of the year. I kind of miss that.
Things are deadly serious now, Richard. And you're also writing for the trade. So having an issue like that just interrupts that flow, I suppose.
Yeah,
too bad. We're old people. Those days are gone. But that's why you watch this show, because you're one of us. Members, we will see you on Wednesday for your special episode, and then on Thursday for the live stream. Everyone else, we will catch you next week.
Yeah, everybody, stay safe.